Caitlin Clark just made WNBA history, not with a buzzer beater, but with a mic drop move that left fans and ESPN speechless. In the middle of the All-Star draft, she fired her assigned coach, Cheryl Reeve, in front of the entire league. And her reason? She doesn't play with haters. What followed was the boldest trade the WNBA has ever seen. If you're Team Caitlin, buckle up. Here's exactly what went down and why Cheryl Reeve never saw it coming. The blow everyone missed, except the cameras, isn't a hard drive to the basket, it wasn't a fight for a loose ball, and it wasn't a heated rivalry boiling over. What happened to Caitlin Clark that night came in the most routine moment of the game, barely noticeable in real time, yet impossible to forget once you saw the replay. Caitlin had just crossed half court, setting up the Indiana Fever's offense. Her pace was calm, deliberate. She wasn't sprinting, just reading the floor like she always does. That's when Tiffany Hayes slid in front of her. At first, it looked like normal on-ball pressure. Arms wide, feet light, defense tight. But then it happened. As Caitlin shifted to her right, Hayes didn't just shadow her movement, she lunged. Her forearm extended like a jab and struck Caitlin directly in the throat. Not a shoulder bump, not a brush. A clear, deliberate strike, and somehow the refs missed it. No whistle, no stoppage. Caitlin stumbled, hands at her neck, her dribble breaking down before her legs gave out completely. She collapsed in open space. The arena gasped. The cameras caught it, fans screamed, but the officials stayed silent. This wasn't just a missed call, it was a symbol, a moment that echoed what Caitlin Clark has heard again and again since entering the league. You won't get the calls. You won't get protection. You'll just have to take it. But Caitlin didn't stay down. What she did next reminded everyone watching exactly why she's the most electrifying player in the game. Why this one hit different and sparked a firestorm. In a season already defined by hard fouls and silent whistles, this one felt personal. The hit Caitlin Clark took from Tiffany Hayes wasn't just another physical play, it was a spark to a powder keg that had been building for weeks. The WNBA has always been a physical league, but there's a difference between tough defense and targeted aggression. What made this moment different was the timing, the force, and most of all, the reaction, or lack thereof. No foul, no review, just Clark gasping on the floor, and the game continuing like nothing happened. Fans exploded on social media within seconds. The clip went viral before the next possession ended. Slow motion replays showed it clearly. Hayes extended her arm into Caitlin's throat. But even more telling was what didn't happen. No technical, no ejection. Not even a discussion between officials. For Caitlin's fans, millions of them who had followed her rise from Iowa to Indiana, it was more than frustrating. It was enraging. To them, it wasn't just a missed call. It was another example of how the league was treating its biggest new star. But why the outrage now? Because this wasn't the first hit. And because Clark, despite her calm demeanor, has taken hit after hit without retaliation. She plays through it, gets up, and keeps going. Yet this moment, caught so vividly, so violently, felt like a turning point. It was the moment her supporters stopped asking for fairness and started demanding accountability. The silence from the league only made the noise from fans grow louder. So the tension beneath the surface, Clark's growing target on her back. Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA in the spring of 2024, there's been a quiet tension surrounding her presence. On the surface, she's been a marketing goldmine, drawing in record viewership, selling out arenas, and rejuvenating interest in women's basketball. But underneath that spotlight, a growing resentment has simmered among certain players and coaches. They see the media frenzy, the endorsement deals, the headlines focused on one rookie, and not everyone's been clapping. Some call it jealousy, others call it growing pains. But either way, Clark has become a lightning rod. The physicality she faces on the court goes far beyond typical rookie treatment. She's bumped harder, fouled without calls, and taunted with a frequency that borders on obsession. In many ways, it's become clear, Caitlin isn't just playing basketball, she's navigating a league still unsure how to embrace her. And that's where the real problem lies, because when a player becomes a symbol, every hit carries more weight. Every shove, every elbow, every no call turns into a referendum on how the league treats its stars, particularly young, white, media-hyped ones. It's uncomfortable, it's complex, and it's bigger than just one player. But through it all, Clark has stayed remarkably composed. She doesn't whine, she doesn't retaliate, she lets her game speak, and that's exactly what's made her even more dangerous, because when the world is watching and you handle the hate with grace, the power shifts in your favor. That's the part some still haven't figured out. Trading a coach live on TV, Caitlin Clark's savage power move. No one expected what happened during the 2024 WNBA All-Star Draft. What was supposed to be a lighthearted event quickly became a defining moment in Caitlin Clark's rookie season. With cameras rolling and the ESPN panel barely able to keep up, Caitlin made the move that stunned the league. She traded her coach. Not a player, not a pick, but her assigned All-Star Game coach, Cheryl Reeve. And the way she did it? Calm, composed, and unapologetic. Reeve, the Minnesota Lynx head coach, with championship rings and league respect, had been vocal in her criticism of the Caitlin Clark media frenzy for months. From social media digs to controversial press quotes and even deleted tweets, her disdain had been obvious. She was also seen by many fans as one of the voices behind Caitlin's Olympic snub. So when Caitlin announced the trade, swapping Reeve for New York Liberty coach Sandy Brondello, it wasn't random, it was personal. I don't know if this is in the rules, but I don't really care, Caitlin said with a smirk. And that was it. No drama, no hesitation, just facts. The broadcast team scrambled to make sense of it. Cheryl Reeve looked visibly shaken, and fans online, they lost their minds. It was instantly declared one of the most savage moments in All-Star history. In that moment, Caitlin wasn't just a rookie guard from Indiana. She was a leader drawing a line in the sand and firing a warning shot to anyone who doubted her. Why Cheryl Reeve never stood a chance? Cheryl Reeve may have entered the All-Star spotlight with accolades and authority, but by the time Caitlin Clark was done with her, that legacy had taken a direct hit. For months leading up to the 2024 All-Star Game, Reeve had subtly, and not so subtly, criticized Clark's rise. She downplayed her impact on the league, minimized her popularity, and questioned the attention she was receiving. Some of her comments were deleted from social media, but not before fans screenshot and circulated them. So when the time came to unite on the same bench, Caitlin decided enough was enough. It wasn't about strategy, it was about energy. Caitlin had no interest in letting someone who doubted her lead her all-star squad, especially not on a national stage. Reeve had already been linked to the Olympic controversy. Many believe she had influence in keeping Caitlin off Team USA, even though she publicly denied it. Combine that with snide comments about other teams having too many all-star players, and it was clear there was tension long before the cameras rolled. Caitlin's message was crystal clear. She would not stand beside anyone who didn't believe in her. The firing wasn't just a flashy draft moment. It was a statement of boundaries. No matter how many championships Reeve had under her belt, that didn't give her a pass to disrespect the league's most talked about rookie. When Caitlin traded her coach, she wasn't breaking the rules, she was rewriting them, and Cheryl Reeve never saw it coming. The trade that made history, even without rules. No one watching the 2024 WNBA All-Star Draft expected a coach trade. It simply wasn't something that had ever been done before. Not in the history of the league, not even as a joke. Coaches were assigned based on team records. There were no negotiations, no swaps, no second guesses. But Caitlin Clark, true to her disruptive and determined nature, didn't care. With one bold move, she turned the event on its head. On live television in front of millions, she looked calm, confident, and unbothered when she casually declared, "We're going to trade coaches." The room fell into a stunned silence. ESPN's broadcast team scrambled to process what had just happened. Teammates laughed, some gasped. Cheryl Reeve looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Caitlin then added, almost jokingly, "Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule." That line sent social media into a frenzy. Fans exploded with reactions, calling it the most iconic move in WNBA All-Star history. Memes appeared within minutes. Analysts praised her boldness. What made it even more powerful? was Caitlin's composure. She wasn't doing it to show off. She wasn't shouting or being dramatic. She made the decision like someone who had simply had enough and was finally drawing a line. And in doing so, she took control of the narrative. For the first time in a long time, a player, not a coach, not an executive, dictated how things were going to go. And the league couldn't help but watch. Cheryl Reeve's reaction said it all, and it wasn't pretty. The cameras didn't linger long on Cheryl Reeve's face after the unexpected coach trade, but they didn't need to. For those watching closely, the tension was undeniable. Reeve, usually poised and composed, looked momentarily stunned, her eyes narrowing and her jaw tightening as the realization hit. She'd just been publicly benched by a rookie, and not just any rookie, by the very player she had subtly disrespected for months. The tables had turned, and this time Reeve was the one on the receiving end of a power play. What made the moment even more brutal was that it happened in front of the entire league, on national television, during what was supposed to be a feel-good celebratory event. You could see it in her body language. The smile she tried to force, the stiff clapping, the blank stare into nowhere as Caitlin announced Sandy Brondello as her new coach. Some viewers even swore they saw her mouth the word "wow" under her breath. It was clear Reeve hadn't seen it coming and she didn't know how to respond. Later, she offered no public comment about the trade. No jokes, no statements, just silence. And in that silence, the internet filled in the blanks. Fans speculated, critics pounced, and Clark supporters celebrated. For them, it was vindication. For Reeve, it was a rare public defeat. And while the scoreboard at the All-Star game hadn't lit up yet, Caitlin had already scored the first and loudest blow without even touching the basketball. From snubbed rookie to locker room leader, Clark flips the script. Just weeks before this moment, Caitlin Clark was at the center of one of the most controversial decisions in WNBA history, her exclusion from the 2024 Olympic team. Pundits debated endlessly. Fans were furious. Some blamed politics, others claimed she hadn't earned it yet. But deep down, most people knew the truth. Leaving Clark off the roster wasn't about merit. It was about message. The league's establishment wasn't ready to fully embrace her meteoric rise. And yet, here she was, taking command in the one place where she couldn't be ignored, the All-Star game. What stood out wasn't just the trade. It was the way Caitlin's teammates responded. After she swapped Cheryl Reeve for Sandy Brondello, there was no awkwardness, no tension. Players smiled, some even clapped. It was clear Caitlin had the locker room's respect. She wasn't just the flashy shooter or the headline magnet. She was now the one others looked to for direction. That's a role typically reserved for 10-year vets, not rookies in their first All-Star appearance. But that's been the Caitlin Clark story all along, shattering expectations and redefining norms. At Iowa, she led as a freshman. In Indiana, she's already the engine of the franchise. And on the biggest stage, she proved once again that leadership doesn't come from age, it comes from courage. By taking a stand and choosing her coach, Clark didn't just send a message to the league. She sent one to every young athlete watching. Know your worth and don't be afraid to claim your space. The internet erupted, and Clark became an instant icon. Within minutes of Caitlin Clark's on-air coaching trade, social media ignited like wildfire. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram were flooded with reactions, memes, and hot takes. Clips of Clark's calm delivery, "We're going to trade coaches," were reposted millions of times before the All-Star rosters were even finalized.